Hello everybody, how you going? Just want to take a second to talk about the debut episode of the new DC TV show, Naomi. Now, full disclosure, I hadn't actually heard of Naomi until this show was first announced, so I had to do a little bit of research, which, in my defense, is fair enough since she only actually debuted in the comic world in 2019. I have since become a bit more familiar with her though, because last year she was introduced to the current Justice League comic book run, which has been written by her creator, Brian Michael Bendis. So yeah, she's actually in the Justice League in the comics. She's coming up in the world. So, first, a bit of backstory. In the comics, Naomi McDuffie was born to superhero parents in a parallel universe that was devastated by supervillains. To keep her safe, her parents sent her to the main DC universe where she was adopted. Then one day, Superman and the supervillain Mongo crashed through the town that she was living in while fighting, which led people to start talking about the last time something crazy like that had happened in the town. Naomi discovers that this event in question actually occurred on the day that she was adopted, which leads her to investigate the truth about her past. Now, as for the TV show, I'll admit that I wasn't particularly excited when it was first announced, and to be honest, I had kind of forgotten about it until I realised it was starting this week. Having said that though, I was actually pretty impressed by the first episode, and based on what I've seen so far, I think it's definitely going to be one of the better DC shows out there right now. Currently, Stargirl and Superman and Lois are my two favourite DC shows, so here's hoping that Naomi can be on the same level as those, or at least somewhere in that vicinity. The setup of the series seems to be similar to Naomi's comic book origin, but with a few key changes. Most notably, rather than being set in the main DC universe or Arrowverse, it seems to be set in our universe, or at least a world similar to it. By which I mean superheroes don't exist in this world. Naomi is a huge Superman fan and even runs a fan site dedicated to him, but it's established very quickly that he's a fictional character. In fact, it turns out that Naomi is a bit of a comic book nerd, which I think is great. It's quite nice for a superhero show to make its hero a comic book nerd. It's a nice bit of acknowledgement to their audience. The best thing is, she's not a stereotypical dork. She's cool and popular, athletic, she rides a skateboard, she's attractive to both boys and girls, she's on the debate team and shown to be academic, plus everybody just seems to like her. It's not overdone though, and she really comes across as a genuinely likable character. Now, it seems like certain aspects of her origin are being kept intact, even if they've been tweaked just a little. Superman still crashes through town fighting a villain, but in this version, everybody assumes that it must be some sort of stunt. They assume it's all been done with special effects. Naomi misses out on seeing it in person because something causes her to faint, but being the Superman fangirl that she is, she becomes determined to figure out who was behind the stunt and how they did it. It turns out that somebody disabled all the security cameras in the area, so she has to stitch together video phone footage from people who witnessed it. Now, we never get a clear shot of Superman. He's only ever shown in the distance, usually zipping around as a blue and red blur. But Naomi does notice that a man named D, who owns a local tattoo parlor, seemed to be unfazed by the craziness, and even looked as though he and Superman may have known one another. When confronted, D pleads ignorance, before eventually confessing to organising the whole thing as a publicity stunt. He claims he hired an actor with a jetpack, which, if I'm being honest, sounds less believable than the idea that it was actually Superman. He also seems to know a suspicious amount about Naomi, such as the date of her adoption. Yet, when she questions her adoptive parents about how he could know this, they plead ignorance. She also begins to question why she has to wear glasses when her vision is fine, which her parents remind her is due to an eye condition which the glasses help mitigate. Sure. Now, ever since the Superman incident, Naomi keeps having these dizzy spells, which culminates in another fainting attack during a big debate. Afterwards, though, she discovers that when she removes her glasses, she actually has telescopic vision, which allows her to discover that Superman had been sighted in some nearby woods. When she goes there, however, she's confronted by a dodgy guy named Zombardo, I believe, who owns a local car dealership. Now, in the comics, if I'm not mistaken, Zombardo is the supervillain responsible for the destruction of her home world, and I'm assuming that it's going to be the same here, since he seems to exhibit powers as well as knowledge of Naomi's past. So, anyway, this sets off some red flags for Naomi, and leads her to believe that D wasn't the one behind the stunt after all. Naturally, she confronts D again, and we find out that although he may not have been behind the Superman stunt, he does have another secret. A big old set of metal wings. Yep, it seems that D is a Fenegarian, which are an alien race in the DC universe, the most famous members of which are Hawkman and Hawkgirl. One more thing I like about D is that he seems to suffer from anxiety and has trouble handling confrontation. As someone with anxiety myself, I appreciate that. Plus, if he turns out to be the mentor figure who will help Naomi discover the truth of her past, it'd be nice to see something a little different to the stereotypical all-knowing, all-powerful mentor. So the episode ends with Dee prompting Naomi to ask the right question, leading to asking, "Who am I?" which serves as the cliffhanger for the episode. Now, I really liked this episode, and I think it was a great start for the series. It does a good job at building up a mystery for both Naomi and the audience to solve. It's great that by episode's end we were left with more questions than answers, meaning that the show's taking its time in giving out the answers. I think that Naomi herself is very likable, and I feel invested in her journey. I want to see her uncover the truth of her past. I want to discover the extent of her powers. How does the Zambada fit in? What do her parents know? Is this really a world without superheroes? And if so, how did Superman get there? Is this the Tyler Hoechlin Superman, or a completely new one? Does Naomi originally hail from the Arrowverse, or somewhere else entirely? These are just some of the many, many questions I look forward to finding the answers. Now, of course there's also the usual teen drama at play, but thankfully it all seems pretty low-key for now. Her best friend seems enthusiastic and supportive, and despite the fact that Naomi seems to be having a will they won't they with 3 different people, so far it seems like it's been kept pretty subtle. As Naomi herself reminds her parents, she's just a teenager. She has friends who she likes for different reasons. She might like some of them in slightly different ways, maybe even be attracted to them, but at her age she doesn't have to rush into picking one, if any, to form a relationship with. Not only do I think that's a wise statement, but it should hopefully also stop the plot from getting too bogged down with teen drama. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the first episode of Naomi. I'm looking forward to seeing how the rest of the season progresses and to learn more about her past. Let me know what you all think down below, and until next time, take care.